down, 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 down. Okay, guess who's back, back again.
SlaMMA's back. Tell a friend.
Now everyone report to the dance floor, to the dance floor, to the dance floor. Now everyone report to the dance floor. All right.
SlaMMA time. Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of SlaMMA. I'm Big Daddy Chris. Heartbreaking how I couldn't make it to the show tonight, so it's just going to be me covering UFC 152. There's two title fights on the line. You've got John Jones versus Vitor Belfort in the main event. In the co-main event, you've got Demetrius Johnson taking on Joseph Benavidez for the first ever flyweight title. There's also another good fight on this card that a lot of people know the fighters. You've got Brian Stann taking on Michael Bisping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little information about the fights and the fighters. Should be a pretty good card. UFC, with all the problems that have been going on, they've got a nice little show put together after what happened with UFC 151. So let's get a real quick breakdown, see what's going on with some of these fights. First fight of the night, you've got Kyle Noke versus Charlie Brenneman. Kyle Noke is moving down to welterweight for the first time. Charlie's been there for a while. He's taken on a lot of good fighters. He's up and down in his career. Charlie's got the wrestling advantage. He's definitely a better wrestler than Noke. I'd say Noke has better striking and better submissions. What I like to see from Noke is submissions off his back, which is probably what he's going to do. Charlie Brenneman's pretty good at defending, so I can see him probably pulling out a decision. That's probably one of the best fights I've ever seen starting UFC before. Second fight of the night, as far as the names go. Second fight of the night. Before I forget, these two fights are on Facebook. So if you're going to start your day off early watching the UFC, head over to Facebook, head over to the UFC page, and check out these two fights for free. So the next fight we got is Mitch Gagnon versus Willel Watson. Watson's pretty tall for the bantamweight division. He's pretty good off his back, pretty good with submissions. Gagnon trains with Olympic wrestlers. I think what's going to happen, he's going to use that wrestling, probably pull out a decision with his submission defense. He trains with the Canadian wrestling team. After those two Facebook fights, you should be able to head over to FX and watch the next couple of fights. There should be, I don't know. Let's see here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights on Facebook. It's quite a few fights. So the next fight will be Sean Pearson versus Lance Benos. Pearson is going to be fighting his hometown. He's going to be coming off his first loss, which was a split decision loss to Seth Basinski, which, in my opinion, he won, and I think a lot of other people thought he won over at UFC on FX3 a couple months ago in June. Pearson's got really good boxing, but Lance, I'm going to call him Lance because I can't really pronounce his last name. Lance has got better takedowns. He's got a better ground game than Pearson. If he doesn't get knocked out, I probably see him pulling out the decision in that fight. The next fight we got going on here, we've got the man who beat Pearson, Seth Basinski, versus Simone Theosin. Theosin's Norwegian. He's coming off his successful UFC debut at UFC on Field 2. He's probably one of the top European prospects the UFC has. He trains with Joachim Hansen. Seth has size. Basinski's a pretty big welterweight. He's got a really good ground game. That's how he beat Pearson. Let's see what happens in this fight. I'm probably thinking just based off his skill, we'll probably see Basinski win this fight. On the next fight, we've got Jimmy Hedis versus Marcus Brimage. I really like this Hedis kid. His jiu-jitsu is ridiculous. If you haven't seen him, the guy he's fighting, Brimage, they call him Mini Rampage because how strong he is. Hedis is really good. His stand-up game is improving, but he's really good at submissions. If you saw his last fight, it was ridiculous. He's a brown belt in judo, which will help him get some excellent throws, possibly take him down once he gets this fight to the ground. Brimage is a lot of trouble. The only thing you could see, though, is Brimage has knockout power in both hands. You could probably see him knockout Hedis. That's going to be a good one. Striker versus grappler type fight. The next fight, you've got TJ Grant versus Evan Dunham. Dunham's kind of, he's kind of had a tough time in these last couple fights with Sean Sherk and Tyson Griffin. Dunham was really one of the up-and-comers at 155, and then he lost to Melvin Gillard, who a lot of people, I think, thought Dunham was probably going to win that fight. But you can't really knock him for losing to Gillard at that time because he was on his, I think he was on 6-7 fight win streak. Both of these guys are really good wrestlers. I'd have to say Dunham has better striking. So I probably see these guys aren't going to really grapple too much with each other. It's one of those wrestlers are going to even each other out, and it's going to be a striking match. And I think with his size and his better striking, I think Evan Dunham will win a decision in this fight. So the next fight we have going on is Igor Prokraik versus Vinny Magalhaes. Magalhaes got cut from the UFC a while ago after making it to the finals of the Ultimate Fighter. He went out of his way, trained his striking, got a lot better. I believe he's on a pretty good 3 or 4 fight win streak himself. One of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world at 205. One of the best. Prokraik, he's got really good striking. I think he's definitely a better striker. He's got pretty good wrestling. I don't think he's going to take the fight to the ground. Still up in the air about Vinny's striking ability. I definitely don't think he's going to get Prokraik to the ground. You could probably see Prokraik in this fight in TKO fashion. He's probably going to hit him a couple times, probably hurt Magalhaes and pull out the victory. That should be a good one. Vinny's definitely been trying for a while to get back into the UFC. That's going to be the main event of the FX card. That should be a good one. I think that'll definitely get a lot of people interested in the pay-per-view. Now, this next fight, this is how you start a pay-per-view for sure. You've got Charles Oliveira versus Cub Swanson. Both fighting at 145. Cub Swanson's on a 3-fight win streak. Excellent striking, excellent takedowns. He's all around a pretty good fighter. He's one of those fighters that isn't great in anything, but he's decent and good at everything. Versus Oliveira, who's one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC, I think, right now. He's got pretty good Muay Thai and some pretty good Jiu-Jitsu, and he blends it well together. We've seen him pull out some pretty neat submissions. I think he'll probably pull out a second-round submission over Cub Swanson. But you never know. Cub's definitely stepped up his game these last couple of fights since he's moved over to the UFC. He's definitely Greg Jackson's helped him improve his camp and become a lot better in his career. Definitely, he's one of those guys that you see turn their career around. We'll see what happens. The next fight is Matt Hamill is fighting, making his comeback. So let's see what happens there. Matt Hamill's got good wrestling. The guy he's fighting has decent wrestling. I believe Roger Hallett is who he's fighting. Matt Hamill retired. He had a lot of things going on. I think he was done, and something brought him back. He's got decent boxing. He's obviously very powerful and strong. I think usually what happens in his fights is he'll come out and try and bully somebody, and if he can't bully him, he starts to almost give up in his fights and he loses. His losses seem to always happen the same way. If he can't establish his game plan in the fight, he gets lost in there, and sometimes it just looks like he gives up. But maybe from what it sounds like, he's had a change of heart and he wants to come back and he's got plans. Let's see what happens. It's going to be a pretty good fight. The next fight you got is going to be one of the big 3 fights in this card. You've got Michael Bisping versus Brian Stann. Bisping is a stick and move kickboxer. Doesn't really have knockout power. He can, hurt somebody, but I've never really seen him knock anybody out. Brian Stann, on the other hand, has power in both hands, and he's going to go in for the knockout. Both guys aren't good at wrestling, aren't good on the – well, Bisping's somewhat decent. He says he has a good, decent game. We've seen him take people down in the past. We could see that here. I'm pretty sure Bisping probably has the wrestling advantage in this fight, along with probably the jiu-jitsu advantage in this fight. We've seen Stan win some close fights or win some good fights. The only thing is the people he's beat are people that'll stand in front of him and knock him out. Bisping is not going to stand in front of him. He's going to stick and move the whole fight. He's going to rack up points and probably win by decision. I know a lot of people would like to see Stan knock him out like Dan Henderson did a couple of years ago, but I think Bisping learned from that mistake, and I doubt it'll happen again. Stan's probably going to have to bum rush him and do something like Vanderlei Silva did when he beat Bisping, but it seems like every time Bisping loses, he learns from his mistakes and improves. I'm not a big Bisping fan, but I think he's definitely got this fight in the bag. He's well on his way to getting closer to earning that title shot versus Anderson Silva. Now, what we got here in the co-main event with Joseph Benavidez versus Demetrius Johnson, we got a lightweight title. I'm sorry, lightweight. It's a flyweight title. So first, the winner is going to get this title. This is a tournament. It's been going on for a while now since Demetrius Johnson had that strange draw with Ian McCall, and then they had to rematch and fight again. And Demetrius Johnson came out and proved that he won the fight the first time. Benavidez, pretty good striking. Same with Johnson, pretty good striking. Benavidez, really good with takedowns. Demetrius Johnson, good with takedowns as well. They both mix it up very well. This is going to be pretty interesting. I'd say the submission edge. The submission edge is going to have to go to Benavidez, just because we've seen him submit more people than Johnson. This is going to be one of those fights where you're going to have to watch because it's going to be pretty technical and it's going to be really fast. Just based off of what I've seen through these years, and I'm pretty sure everyone agrees with me, Benavidez is probably going to win this decision. It's probably going to go 5 rounds. He's going to pull out a decision, maybe split decision, maybe unanimous decision. Who knows? Both of these guys are very good. I think a lot of people underestimate how good Demetrius Johnson is. I have in the past, plenty of times in the past. He's won some fights that I didn't think he was going to win. So let's see what happens in this fight. I think everybody's going to enjoy this one. This is going to either that last fight with Stan and Bisping is going to be the fight of the night, or this fight is going to be the fight of the night. These guys it's going to be an all-out war back and forth, but who knows? It could end right away. And then I'm looking forward to that one. I think everybody else is looking forward to that one too. And the last fight of the night is a fight. Well, it's not a fight that everybody's wanted to see. It's a fighter that everybody's wanted to see for a while now because of what John Jones did at UFC 151. Chose not to fight Chael Sonnen, who came out of nowhere and said he'd challenge him after Dan Henderson hurt his knee. So what I look to see here happen here is obviously Jones has got a huge reach advantage. He's got a huge size advantage. He's got a wrestling advantage. He's going to have that reach is going to really come into play. He uses his reach really well. He uses his legs really well with those kicks to keep people on the outside. That's what he's going to have to do to beat Vitor Belfort. Obviously, Vitor's got that power in both hands and the speed in both hands, which could end the fight at any moment. Once he smells blood, if he hurts you, he's going to finish you. John Jones, on the other hand, we've never seen him really get hit by anyone that hits like Vitor. I think he'll probably keep it to the outside. He might go in for a clinch, go for a takedown. If he gets this fight to the ground, Vitor's got pretty good submissions off his back. He's really quick and really powerful with his submissions. But John Jones is really good at keeping himself out of trouble when he's in top control. If he gets on top, I could see him finishing the fight with elbows. Either way, no matter what I see happen is John Jones winning this fight. It would be some freak accident if Vitor Belfort wins this title. It'd be pretty nice to see him win the title. Maybe he'd retire after this. Maybe we get to see him fight Anderson Silva at some point for the 205 title if that happens. I doubt it would. I doubt he's going to win it. But if he does win it, that's what the sport is all about. Everybody's got a chance at any point to win in a fight. So that was my real quick breakdown of UFC 152. So I hope everybody enjoyed this show today. Thanks for checking us out. Good night.